Jay Rife was sitting in his pickup truck on the outskirts of Las Vegas when he answered a phone call that would permanently alter his life. A man from the federal government was on the line and told him that the loan he had taken out so his son and daughter could go to college had come due. The monthly payment was $1,200. I thought I was going to pass out, said Rife, who was making $13 an hour as a maintenance worker. I hung up the phone and just kind of sat there for an hour trying to figure out what I was going to do. He tried to avoid telling his wife, Tina, wanting to protect her from the possibility of being plunged into poverty, but it wasn't a secret he could keep. I think we both sat and cried for a while over it, said Jay, who is now 64. All right, really quickly, this story was about 5 years ago. He worries about them being plunged into poverty. But unfortunately, with Parent Plus loans, they don't take a look other than just a quick glance at your credit score. That's really all they look at. It's a quick glance at your credit score. Is your child going to a school that is approved for federal loans? And they give you the money up to each year's tuition cost for each year. So Jay here is making $13 an hour. I have to be honest. I actually read this story probably a little over about 3 years ago when this was a student loan Chit-Chat channel. And I read it to my audience. But I'm rereading it, not just to your benefit, but to my benefit as well, as I have gained so much knowledge, both technically, personally, and stuff, dealing with student loans, that I really think this article is worth reading again. It is important that we understand that Parent Plus loans, the reason people feel they are predatory is many parents feel the only way out for their child to get educated is for the parents to go severely in debt to the point that it ruins them. He's making $13 an hour, and he's worried that a $1,200 student loan bill is going to put him into poverty. What he and his wife fail to see is they are already living on poverty wages, in my opinion. You've got two grown kids, obviously college-age kids. You've got a mom and a dad. Dad is making $13 an hour. That is less than people make here working at McDonald's as a new employee, judging from the help wanted signs that I see around Tampa for new employees, shift workers, starting at around $15 an hour. Now, again, this story was 5 years ago. But what was going on 5 years ago? Pandemic time was 5 years ago. Right around there. It's sad because he's in poverty and doesn't see that he's already in poverty. So he takes out a student loan. And part of this may say, how is it that someone can take out student loans when they know they can't pay it back? But let me remind you of something. People on six-figure incomes are struggling to pay back student loans. And I think what it comes down to is, to some sense, is there a morality question? Is there a moral question in the sense of, the only people who can go to college are people who are wealthy. The only children who can have a break are the children of the wealthy. My thoughts and my experience have changed a lot since I first read this a few years back. So that's the situation. He's afraid to tell his wife, and they're crying. Taking your kids through college should not wind up with you in tears, yet we know over and over and over it does. It winds up parents killing out their 401k account, cashing out their retirement, killing off any financial future that they have. So then what do they become? A burden possibly to the children. And the fact that they're crying over it also tells you that there was no planning, there was no budgeting. But let's be honest here. If we're talking about a father who is making $13 an hour, I'm willing to bet his education, I'm just going to take a stab at it, okay? The education's probably not real high, possibly around middle school, okay? Their business knowledge of how money works, correct? All right, moving on. 18 years after that phone call, the couple lives paycheck to paycheck, still struggling to scrape together the monthly fee. Let's stop. 18 years. They're living paycheck to paycheck. It's 2025 now. It's June 2nd, I believe it is. Guess what? They're still paycheck to paycheck. Nothing's changed, and nothing will change. I feel like I'm stuck in it until I die, he says, sitting next to his wife, whose face draws down in disbelief when they discuss it. The couple's original $40,000 loan to cover the cost of their son and daughter attending public universities in Indiana, where the family lived at the time, has snowballed in 18 years with interest rate as high as 8.5%. Their bill now stands at more than $100,000. I don't know about you, this just gives me goosebumps. I think it's because it's like a flashback. Because like I said, I read this article 3 years ago, and I even presented it on this channel before it became Consumer Debt Chit-Chat. But the depth of understanding that I have of it today goes beyond the numbers. It taps into the emotion, because my $110,000 was forgiven in 2022, and I recognize how close I came to having a retirement that could be saddled with $130,000, $40,000 in student loans, because the $110,000 that I had in 2022 when it was given would have continued to have accrued interest, and I would have continued to have paid the income based, and the interest would just continue to accrue, because as you know, income based doesn't cover interest for most people. So I'm understanding this at a 3 years more growth level, I guess you might say. 3 years more sensitivity level. I mean, I was obviously sensitive to it at the time, but I think as this channel has grown, as I've grown to understand my own financial predicaments and to have worked myself out of it and stuff, I think the one thing that scares me so much about student loans for other people is, guys, I wasn't sure how the heck I was going to get myself out of it. I did not see a way out of paying $110,000 in student loans, plus saving for retirement, plus trying to pay off for residence, plus all the other just basics of living. I'm not asking to travel. I'm not asking for fun stuff. I'm just asking for the basics of living. And having a $110,000 student loan, I didn't know as a teacher how the heck I was supposed to get myself out of it. And I realized something. I couldn't, and I wasn't going to. Short of a miracle happening that was going to change me financially, it wasn't happening. So their loan went from $40,000 to $100,000 with interest at 8.5%. He makes $13 an hour. And again, that was 5 years ago. The Reifs would have lost their house if they had been forced to make the original monthly payment. So they negotiated with the government to get it down to $733. Still, it's more than their mortgage, and it doesn't cover the interest, so the amount has continued to grow. I want you to understand something. Young people who are going off to college this fall, don't put yourself in this position. Let me tell you something. If one person wrote me, 2 years from now and said, you know what, Carrie, I saw your channel. I really thought about what you said. And because of you, I'm not stuck in $50,000, $100,000 worth of debt. I decided to change something around. You know what? All the years I've been on this channel would have been totally worth it. Because I've been on here. We're going into year 6. Absolutely worth it. Let me tell you something. Okay? This is what I've been preaching. See, you young people think, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but a lot of young people think that they're the only ones going through this student loan stuff. Like, how could they be the only ones to be, doing income-based and the interest keeps stacking on? I want young people, I want you to see that this has been going on for decades. It's just nobody told you. Nobody informed you. They played off your naivety, okay? Because banks have a lot of money to lose by you not being in student loan debt. This has been going on for generations. It's just you, Gen Z. You're just learning about it. Gen Alpha will learn about it. Millennials, okay? They definitely learned about it. This couple, just a hard-working, blue-collar class couple, working to get their 2 kids through school, $100,000. Yeah, and that's $733. If it were not a Parent Plus loan, it would probably be cut in half, because my $110 came to a payment of about $300, maybe $350. But I think about when I retire, oh my God, take $350 out of my budget from Social Security just so I can be income based. That's a lot of money when you're retired. That's a food budget. For some seniors, $350 is the food budget for the month. For some people, $350 is the cost of their medication. My arthritis medication, I had no idea that freaking Celebrex is, I guess I can break my own HIPAA rules because I don't care. That Celebrex, I think, is something like a ridiculous $200 a month if I didn't have insurance. Instead, I pay like $20. So there's a lot to lose. Reading on, Jay and Tina are among the 3.6 million parents who currently have federal loans designed specifically for parents who don't have the money to send their kids to college. Even when students take out their own loans, the Parent Plus program enables parents to borrow more to meet the full cost of the college. I want to stop right there. Do we not find it a bit odd that that sentence says the Parent Plus loan program enables parents at what cost? To your retirement? To the ability of you to live alone in your old age versus having to move in with your kids, if your kids will even let you move in with them? To your kids having to fork out some of their retirement money so they can help pay off the Parent Plus loan that you took out for them because they carry so much guilt that they see their parents hurting? The cost is so high. And, I'll be honest, folks, it breaks my heart because, I think to myself, if I were a parent and I had kids and I knew that one of the only ways out for them to be able to get into the good jobs was to have an education. But here's the sad reality. There is no fair. Here in the United States, we have no fair system for anybody of any socioeconomic class to go to school. And I have not discussed this now, and I will not discuss it until it passes the Senate. But, there's that big, beautiful bill that Trump is doing. No, I'm not being political. I'm being factual. On this channel, I don't get political. I get factual. Okay, so that's that big, beautiful bill. And I believe that within that bill, there are some changes to the student loan. And one of the big things is whether or not to cap student loans at $150,000. The reason you have not heard me discuss it on my channel is, well, I have to be honest, there are only so many hours in a day, and I really like to focus on things that have been passed by law versus us sitting around spending time, thinking about whether it could or could not. So I would rather wait. If it gets through the Senate, trust me, I'll be all over the top of it on this channel. But for right now, it's just stuff that's going through and it still has not passed. And there are plenty of other channels talking about that. So that's why I have not addressed it. Okay. But trust me, I know what's going on. It's just I don't want to waste time on my channel addressing something that's not yet passed. Okay. I don't like to sit and play hypotheticals too often. All right. So it says here that the Parent Plus loan enables them. If this is enabling, it's kind of like, man, if this is what you call a friend, then I don't need a friend. Oh, and by the way, I have a smaller microphone now. It's really tiny, so no more big herky mic in the camera. So that's kind of cool. All right, moving on. All right, these families now collectively owe the government more than $98 billion. Okay, and then it goes through stats. I don't like to read every little thing. Again, you can find it in the description box. Okay, we're more stats. Okay, continuing on. Unlike student loans with Parent Plus, it's difficult to get a payment plan based on a family's income. That means if a parent loses a job or suffers a significant pay cut, they may be stuck with monthly bills they cannot afford. People, you cannot confuse Parent Plus loans with a standard student loan, which is why I believe the Parent Plus loans, don't touch it. Don't touch them unless you can just write a check and pay it off. It does not go under the same perks. More than 1 in 8 parents will default on the loans, according to the most recent government estimates. Last spring, in the face of the coronavirus pandemic induced economic meltdown, the federal government allowed students and parents with college degrees to temporarily stop making payments without accruing interest. That we are aware of. And here's an interesting thing on that, and I believe I'm quoting this correctly. I believe less than 1% of student loan borrowers actually made payments during the pandemic. I believe less than 1% actually made payments. Now then, with me having the PSLF, the Public Service Loan Forgiveness, the only reason I did not make payments on that on my student loan during the pandemic, the only reason I didn't make payments is because they allowed those months off to count towards our 120 payments. But mark my words, had the government said, hey, no one has to pay anything right now, it's not going to count. The pause months are not going to count. And we will pick up your 120 again down the road. Or you could continue making your payments and continuing having it count towards the 120. I have witnesses. I have friends that are witnesses that will tell you I would have continued making the payments because I didn't know how long the 120, I didn't know how long the pandemic pause was going to be. Never would I have guessed it'd be near 5 years. I would have thought maybe a couple months and then maybe a year, 2 years, 3. No way would I have guessed 5. And I would have paid the entire time because there's one thing I have learned about budget and money and setting goals. All time passes. And you have a choice. You can either make time pass in your favor, which means 2 months, 5 months, 5 years from now, you can find yourself in a better spot, or you can choose to do nothing. And when time passes, you will be in the same spot, if not a worse predicament than you were already in. My rule, and it's something that has gotten me through a lot of financial hiccups, all time passes. But the question is, what am I doing with my time right now so that I can make the future better? I'm very passionate about that because I genuinely believe, it's what's gotten me through a lot of stuff, including divorce, including bankruptcies. All time eventually passes. And for those who like to throw in, because, you always got a few of those, well, I could be dead. Hey, you know what? That time passed too. And maybe anything I've done that has been good will help somebody else. I don't use death as an excuse to not save or to not plan. Well, I might not be around to spend that $100,000 that I want to save up over the next, 5 years. Okay? So you won't be around. Leave it to somebody that you love and that you think would appreciate it. All right, continuing on. The Parent Plus program was originally designed for higher income parents for use at private colleges, and repay was seldom a problem. Stop. Okay? I should really do this as a podcast. Here's the thing. A lot of people don't know the history of Parent Plus. It's not the god-awful thing that we saw now. Parent Plus was actually very simple. And yes, it was meant for the wealthier. You know what? Here's the thing, folks. Sometimes we just have to admit we are broke poor. Sometimes we just have to admit if we're not broke poor, we cannot compete with people who have more money than us. And if you think your butt's broke, I guarantee it to you there's somebody who's in a worse situation than you're in. I've always said to myself, when we think about poverty and being broke, if you're stuck on the street, the person who has a cardboard box looks like they have a mansion compared to you if you have nothing. And then you take the cardboard box and somebody else has got a tent. You see, and then somebody else has a car to sleep in, and then somebody else has an RV. You see, it's you have to realize, short of you being flat on the street with nothing, and I seriously doubt you are if you're probably watching this channel, to be totally honest. Not saying that's not possible. Feel free to leave in the comments if you are. Maybe we could start a GoFundMe for you or something. No, I'm not going to start a GoFundMe account for anybody. I'm sorry, but here's the thing. I think oftentimes we on the lower end of the financial totem pole, we have to understand that always trying to mimic a program or benefit that's given to another group of people, if we try to mimic it, it could actually hurt us. And that is basically what happened with the Parent Plus program. Okay, they tried to say, okay, you broke people at the end of the totem pole. I'm counting myself in it. Okay, don't think I'm not. I'm a teacher here. Okay, you broke people at the end of the totem pole. You want to try to be like the wealthy, so we're going to give you the same benefits. Did it work? Of course, it did not work, because different programs need to be in place for different financial, socioeconomic classes of people. Parent Plus program was not built on that idea. Parent Plus program was built on one size fits all. Nothing was adapted or changed so that Mr. Riff here in the article, nothing was adapted to say, whoa, he only makes $13 an hour. He wants to send his kids to school at $40,000. But this program is designed for wealthy people. Wealthy is not a curse word, okay? It's not. If you are wealthy, I congratulate you, all right? People think that just because somebody's wealthy that that's some big curse. It's not a curse. Okay, but we need to understand, however, that sometimes the needs of the people who have more money are going to be different than the needs of the people who have less money. And that for us to gain the same thing, Okay, we can't do a one size fits all. It's fine, great. Parent Plus program was built for the wealthy. Congratulations. Okay, now build a Parent Plus program for Mr. Riff here at $13 an hour. Oh, gee, it's not going to look like what it does for the wealthy. Exactly. But no one's figured that out yet. So if people have figured out, there have been no laws to change anything. So here he has $40,000 turns into $100,000. Let's see. So we have here the Parent Plus originally designed for the wealthy. Okay, as the cost of public education rose, more low and middle income families began seeking the loans, desperate to give their children a shot at a secure future. But families' debt load soon increased as well. I leave out a lot of the crediting stuff, sorry. More than 200 families who made less than $40,000 per year took out a Parent Plus loan in 2016 alone, an increase of more than a third from 2008. And of course, you know, it's only gone up. Continuing on, not only does the government not consider a family's ability to pay when approving the loans, but there is no cap on the amount parents can borrow. A parent could be homeless and still borrow the money as long as his or her credit rating isn't terrible and the loan money is spent on costs related to college. Is this helping anybody out? Is this solving any problems? We're solving one problem, kids go to college, to create another problem, parents are broke. We've set parents up for disaster. I got lipstick on. We've set parents up for disaster when they are trying to do the best for their kids, but end up in financial crisis. We've now saddled many parents with unimaginable amounts of debt. See, here's the thing I don't understand about the government. The government's acting like this is just such a shock. Guess what? The government knew it was going to be like this when they implemented the freaking system for everybody. The government knew it was going to be like this. This is not a surprise. Okay? I mean, the government's acting like, oh my gosh, we're shocked. Really? With all the brains, supposedly, there's supposed to be working at the top, creating these programs, you don't think somebody there went, I think we may have a problem if we put a $13 an hour person on there. Of course they knew. But sometimes in the rush to make everybody equal, we make things incredibly unfair. Scrolling down. Like Tina and Jay Riff, parents aren't racking up this debt just to send their kids to high-priced private colleges. From 2009 to 19, the amount of Parent Plus loan money flowing to public universities each year more than doubled. Oh, you can bet. The public universities love that. Remember, you are nothing more than dollars. Your dollars to banks, your dollars to a school. The Rife's daughter, Stacy Johnson, who is now 41, got a good job as a nurse after she graduated. She is managing her own student loan payments, raising a family, and sending her parents what money she can to help them out. So basically, Stacy's family is having to suffer. I mean, maybe not, greatly, but they're having to suffer because she's trying to pay her parents back for this Parent Plus loan. This isn't fair. It's what did they call it? Generational poverty. Yeah, maybe she makes good money as a nurse and she can afford, I don't think it says how much that she sends them. But okay, so let's just throw a number out there. It's a $733 Parent Plus loan. Let's say she gives them $300 a month. Well, here's the kicker. That's $300 a month she could be sticking into an account to help her own kids get through school when they get older. You see how this works? Nobody can look at the way the Parent Plus loan system is set up and tell me that there's not victims, from the youngest to the oldest. The youngest being the kids of the kids that are dealing with Parent Plus loans. So Stacy's children are hurting. Guarantee it. Yeah, they may have food, shelter, and all of that, but it's long term. And remember, when we're talking about college and education and student debt, you must think long term. Let's see here, and the reason I'm saying you need to think long term is, one, how are you going to afford college for them? You have to be looking long term. And then when you do take on the debt, exactly how many years do you want to spend to pay it off? Okay, so continuing on, Stacy's managing her own student loan program and raising her family. It pains her to know that her 63-year-old mother, who has become disabled and can no longer work, goes without health insurance so that her parents can make their loan payments. I have said it before. And I will say it again. I will die on the cross. When you take out these Parent Plus loans, you must put into account how old are you right now and how old are you supposed to be, how old are you gonna be when these loans are paid off if everything runs perfect. And then I think you should add on another 10 years. Okay, I took the loans out at 40. That's going to put me at 60 when they're supposed to be paid off if I don't miss a single payment. During the ages of 50 to 60, I might experience a job layoff because I am over the age of 50. I might very well wind up with some medical problems for myself. If I do have a job layoff, I'm probably going to have an income pay cut. Oh my God, a lot could happen between 50 and 60 alone. Should you really take out a 20-year Parent Plus loan? You see? Hey, I may not be a parent. All right? But I get it. I get why parents do this for their kids, and I also get the repercussions of it. I am a third-generation school teacher. My whole life has been lived around, I kid you not, graduations, PhDs, masters, the whole 9 yards. It's my whole worldly experience, okay? So her mother is now disabled at 63. Can't make it. And I think the retirement age is even 65 at her age group. My age group can't retire. Well, you can retire at 5 if you're able to afford it. But I mean, as far as, Social Security, okay, 67 if you were born after 1960. So I bet her mom didn't ever think that she might become disabled. Strapping yourself with student loan debt for your kids, not a good idea, in my opinion, if you cannot pay off the bill. And, it's easy for people to go, God, these parents, are they just dumb or crazy? I don't think it's any more dumb or crazy than what I did, going and getting 2 master's degrees. And I was like, gee, Carrie, you just kept racking up that student loan debt. Yep, I did, till it hit $85,000. It's because when you want something so much, whether it's for yourself or for your kids, you turn off the financial part of your brain. And this channel is designed to help you think about the financial part of your brain. So it says here, quote, "They fulfilled my dream," said Stacy, her voice strained with concern. Stacy's saying that her parents fulfilled her dream to allow her to go to school, but it's affected them. I don't think that parents should have to jeopardize their future to put their kids through college. That's absolutely true. Since Johnson graduated from Indiana University in 2001, the parent loan crisis has gotten worse, especially for parents whose children attend public universities, the ones that are supposed to be financially accessible to state residents. Yeah. Don't think for a minute that just because you go to public school that everything is great. I went to public school. Okay, I went to the University of South Florida. I loved the school. Loved my professors. Okay, I wasn't responsible in understanding the debt. And let's keep in mind I was in my 30s. Okay. All right, let's see here. We're growing and growing on. All right, guys, that is the end of this. So I think that's long enough. There are 2 more stories. I'm not going to go through them with you. I will, however, put the link inside the description box so you can go through it. And don't forget also, if you I did one yesterday as well. I did one yesterday. I think I did. Hold on. Let me look. Yeah, I did one yesterday on a parent who is $300,000 in debt, and I will link that at the very end, okay? It's time for me to hit the gym. It's almost 5 o'clock, but my work is done for today. I'll talk to you guys later. You guys have a great Monday. Bye.